Hey guys, so I have a question for you. What would it be like if 2010 was not the end of Bionicle, but if Bionicle had continued? In fact, that's kind of the project that I'm taking on now. So, this project is a Glatorian expansion for 2009-2010 Bionicle, but as though nothing else had changed. Essentially, we maybe got the star sets, we got Hero Factory introduced, and Ben 10 and some of those other construction types of themes as well. But what would a Bionicle wave look like that wasn't only living on its last leg, but maybe Lego had even delved further into, put more resources into? That's the idea. So this video is talking about sort of my idea for the direction of Bionicle, where I would maybe take it or explore, and the projects, hopefully upcoming here in the near future. The most interesting thing about this next wave, this proposed wave of mine, is that it is 9 sets, not 6. And so this is 1 character for each of the 9 elements on Bara Magna. That's a rough number, of course. We know that Bionicle has more than 9 elements, but essentially it is the original 6 elements plus the 3 elements introduced on Bara Magna, being iron, sand, and jungle. Now, where exactly are these elements differentiated? I don't think it actually matters that much, because I'm treating them as sort of a regional thing rather than the elements themselves, mostly because the characters don't really have elemental powers. That's kind of a thing from 2009. And so, though you might see characters with elemental motifs, and I will of course respect that as well, I want to lean more heavily into these different regions and sort of what sets each of them apart. So 9 characters, 1 for fire, earth, rock, sand, and yes, I'm reading this, iron, air, jungle, ice, and water. And my idea is that not only would we get these 9 different characters, there would also be some Agori thrown in here as well, though I don't know if it'd be a full set of 9, but also 9 large creations. This is where things get a little bit difficult, mostly because Bionicle's never done something like this before. Maybe the closest thing we got was in 2001, where we technically got 10 Rahi, but it was 5 sets, right? And so the next closest thing I can think of is probably 2007, which had 6 different box sets, though some of them were obviously exclusive or special editions elsewhere. 2008 also had a decent amount of large box sets, but this goes kind of overboard. Here's what I'm proposing. So for these 9 large sets, 6 of them are vehicles, with 3 of these vehicles being land-based and 3 of these vehicles being air-based. And those are things like sky ships, ornithopters, as well as even like jets and things like that. And then the land-based vehicles could be things like motorcycles, 4-wheeled vehicles, 3-wheeled vehicles, etc. Something that's designed maybe for traveling around a sand barren world, but still really cool and leaning into the aesthetic I want to go towards. The third and probably most interesting theme here, though, is dinosaurs and dragons. And those would be the last 3 large creations. So these are essentially our titans for this wave. And then if we want a large big bad guy or whatever, that's fine too. But the next question I have to ask myself is, well, how exactly would Lego make this a reality, right? In terms of parts budget, I can't go in here and hyper greeble everything, right? Because it's just not realistic. It's not something that Lego can do. And so it's sort of about working to the best of your ability with the parts that you have. So my thing is, I want to try my best to work with parts from the era. It's not to say that I'm not against using parts from more modern Lego. There are certain pins and axles and things, but I think I'll stick mostly to Technic for that kind of stuff, right? Rather, my idea is that I want to lean into the parts that currently exist or existed back then, as well, including parts from things like Hero Factory, because again, I'm treating this as though those sets already exist on shelves, using parts from bin 10 wherever applicable. And also introducing my own custom parts to this wave, because every wave of Bionicle is sort of defined by the custom pieces that they bring with them, right? The helmets, in this case, the swords and different armor types and stuff. So I'm all for leaning into that. The gimmick for this, though, for these 9 major characters is cloth pieces. And I know that sounds weird at first. I have a couple of reasons for it, and it's very different from things that Bionicle have done in the past. But in terms of gimmicks, we've obviously seen these for a long time with Bionicle. You have obviously the launchers, of course, which have been around Bionicle basically since 2004, and realistically earlier as well. But in 2006, Bionicle Lego gave us electrical items in the form of Inika swords and Paraka eyes, right? Glow-in-the-dark items as well. And those are sort of like wave gimmicks in and of themselves. Those kind of went by the wayside a little bit after 2006. Yeah, we'd still get glow-in-the-dark things here and there. We'd still get electronic things here and there. But they weren't really like for the full wave, because 2007 took things in a different direction and started building characters uniquely rather than having that clone body build. And so I feel like the cloth is a way to tie all of these characters together and to align them with their factions, if you will, right? So this could be capes, this could be like shawls or overcoats or waistcoats or whatever those tail coat things are called. I don't know. I am not a seamster, a tailor. I guess that would be the male version of that. But you get my point here, right? And so in a way, it's kind of leaning towards like 2016's take on cloth, right? With Bionicle Gen 2, we got the cloth poly bag that had the little cape for Tahu or for Ikimu if you wanted to use it on him. And that was a really nice piece, and it had a good callback on it as well because it had printing on it. And so it was a callback to, you know, the Nuva symbols and things of old. And that's kind of how this would work as well. So each of these cloth pieces would likely be only a handful of colors. I don't think that like every single set would get its own unique color, but each one would have a unique print on it that is essentially the insignia of their respective village, right? And so it sort of introduces a more heavy lore to this concept, if you will. So, as I mentioned in a previous video, the direction that I'm going with, the direction I'm taking this in, is sort of steampunk slash, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. Sky pirates, there we go. So steampunk, sky pirates, dinosaurs, obviously dragons as well, and sort of like oriental vibes. Again, I mentioned this in the video that I put out yesterday talking about where to draw inspiration from, which was specifically about Magic the Gathering, because that's where I pulled a lot of this inspiration, and sort of that's kind of what I'm taking from here as well. I think it's a really interesting concept, and because these characters don't really adhere to elements but still have elemental motifs, it means we can go a lot further in experimenting with color schemes, right? 2009, again, is a very vibrant year for Bionicle, but most of the characters still fall within color schemes for their respective element. And so we're talking about taking that even a step further and maybe introducing like blues on fire characters and, you know, different metallic colors here and there too. So I think there's a lot to really explore, and I'm really excited for it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this little journey while I hammer away at it, I guess. But that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to go ahead and chat with you for a minute. I guess I'll show off this character, which I don't really care for that much, but there's some interesting things going on at the very least with this one here. I think it looks fine. It's just a little clunky at the end of the day. But there is an interesting torso build in there to allow the connection of that Paraka foot, obviously highlighting the reddish brown parts, which are not terribly internally consistent from Lego, so many parts are weird colors and slightly off from each other, but also, you know, giving it a different aesthetic, which does work. Like I said, I do like kind of what I was going for here, but I don't think the character itself looks terribly good. Not bad by any means. But yeah, and then you've already seen the sandstorm, though I've been able to add these copper colored swords on here, which I really like. But unfortunately not done in a way that I would consider legal for Lego, so they wouldn't do it, and that's okay. I'm going to try to respect the legality of Lego's building system as I go into developing these sets further. So that's pretty much it though. If you guys did enjoy the video, or if you want to help out, or if maybe you know of some like custom parts that could fit this theme, if you will, then yeah, let me know. You can let me know either in the comments below this video, which also helps out in the algorithm, but also you can check out my Discord. There are plenty of people over there that are more than happy to converse with you, and Discord, Instagram, and Patreon will all be linked in the description, so make sure to check all those out if you want to support the channel and get some perks. That's down there too. And yeah, just make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.